Okay, welcome class to lesson 5. It's about features formed in the upper stage of a river. Number 1, we have a waterfall. So what is a waterfall? A waterfall refers a vertical drop of a big volume of water from a great height along the profile of a river. How is a waterfall formed? We have very many factors, conditions responsible for the formation of waterfalls. But these ones under the river course, we can summarize and say a waterfall is formed when a river which was formerly flowing on a hard rock begins flowing on a soft rock, which it erodes vertically and starts flowing on that steep gradient. Formerly, the river was flowing on a hard rock. So as the river continues to flow, it begins to flow on a soft rock, which it will erode vertically, which means its gradient will become steep, and it begins flowing on this steep gradient, forming a waterfall. We shall see it in the diagram in another slide. Then we have rapids. These are just like waterfalls, only that they are minor waterfalls. They are simple minor waterfalls. When they mature also, they can form waterfalls. If you check on this diagram, there is a river flowing on this part of the rock, and when this river reaches this part of the rock, it erodes the rock vertically, forming a steep cliff, which results into the formation of this present fall. We assume that this river was formerly flowing on a flat surface, like this flat gradient. But because of having this rock of two different characteristics, one part is hard, this area is hard, and another part is soft. This river was forced to erode further deep this part of the rock which is soft. Then it began flowing on a steep gradient, forming a waterfall. This is a rock with two characteristics. In front, it is soft. At the beginning, it is hard. So that's why you see the river flowing at a higher altitude where the rock is hard. And as it joins the part of the rock which is soft, the river begins to flow at a lower altitude, forming this cliff that stands for a waterfall. Factors that affect the formation of a waterfall. Waterfalls are formed under different factors. For example, the nature of the rock. The rock must be of two characteristics, one part hard and another part soft. Otherwise, if the whole rock was only hard or only soft, the waterfall would not form. Then we have nature of the land, relief. At least for a waterfall to form, the river must be flowing from a high altitude to the area of low altitude. Must be flowing from a hill top to the valley. If the whole land was flat, waterfalls may not form. Next, sea level fall also forms a waterfall. For example, when a river is joining a sea or a lake at sea level 2, and the sea level tends to fall back to sea level 1, the river will be forced to fall on a steep cliff in order to join the sea at its sea level 1. Then we have faulting along the river channel. Faulting may occur along the river channel. It creates a fault line, and as the land retreats backward or sinks downward on the fault line, then the river joining the same fault line will also flow on a steep escarpment. I think this works well when it comes to rivers joining rift valleys. When a river enters a rift valley, it begins flowing on a fault scarp or escarpment where it forms a waterfall. Then we have man's activities. Man can construct a dam across the river, and finally this dam will create a waterfall because the dam will stand for a steep cliff where the river water comes and falls on that cliff. These are man-made waterfalls. We have importance of waterfalls. Are waterfalls important? For example, some waterfalls, are they important? Rusizi 1 and Rusizi 2, are they important? Nyabarongo waterfalls, are they important? Yes. Number 1, they attract tourists who bring in foreign exchange. Number 2, they promote research and fieldwork. A geography class can visit a waterfall to make research. They help to generate hydroelectric power. This is very important to our economy. Then we have another feature called plunge pool. Plunge pool. This is a kettle-like a hole. It looks like a kettle at the foot of a waterfall. It is formed when a river erodes the foot of a waterfall. Immediately at the starting point of the bottom of the cliff or waterfall, because the water keeps on dropping there all the time, this water finally digs the bottom of a waterfall, creates a hole that has a shape like that of a kettle called a plunge pool. If you look at this diagram, this is the river flowing. It reaches here and flows on a waterfall or a steep cliff, and at the bottom of a steep cliff or a waterfall, it again digs further down to form a plunge pool. We have potholes. These are small holes at the river bed. Small kettle-like holes also along the river bed. As the river digs its bed, it creates small holes. These holes are called potholes. Interlocking space. These are alternate bands of resistant rocks on hillsides or on a hillside. They are alternate bands of resistant rocks on hillsides. How are they formed? They are formed when a river tries to avoid or to dodge a resistant rock on a steep gradient. Check the diagram. This diagram represents a hill area where the river was flowing from the top to the valley. But as it flows from the source, I think you see the source of the river here at the top of the hill, and the river is flowing, making meanders. It is making meanders or curves because it is dodging a resistant rock following a soft rock where it can erode easily. So as it dodges a hard rock and follows a soft rock, it creates or it leaves part of the sides of the hill standing. Those standing sides neighboring with valleys where the river passes as it digs or erodes are called interlocking spurs.